Hi there, my name is Harry Olsen. I am a freelance photographer and film director based in England, and recently I've been trying to get better at lighting. So today I'm going to go through 3 different cinematic lighting scenes, how I set them, what the inspiration was, and some tips and tricks that you can take home and do better than what I did. So no more wasting time, let's get straight into it with the first lighting setup. So this is actually something I practiced a little while ago with my older camera, and even less lighting that I did on my Instagram reels. And as you can see, it's very dark. The camera I was working with is really bad in low light. And sure, it looks kind of cool, but it's not doing exactly what I wanted it to do. So in this reference image that I've got right here, as you can see, it's a lot bigger than my bathroom. So I realized very quickly that I'm just gonna have to try and adapt with the lights that I have and the small space that I have. But in a way, it's really good as a beginner filmmaker to sometimes limit yourself to what you can do, put yourself in smaller spaces with less gear, with less budget, and see what you can create, because sometimes it comes with a lot of experimentation. So I popped a little cheap RGB light that I got from Amazon just under my face in the sink. So what that's just gonna do is just gonna bounce that light a bit more. I always want that catch light as well. I want something where you can see the details in my eyes. Even with this lighting setup, you can see this light coming from down here, just bringing out in my eyes. And that's something I always want to have in my shots. I think that's really where lighting is going and where you see the real difference in basic and cinematic lighting. You can also see in the reference image next to the subject, there's another sink, and there's also that pool of red light on there. But I couldn't stick a light from above, so I just came from below, put it literally on the toilet, a small Aputure MC. It's one of the older versions, so it's not that powerful, but it comes with loads of different color waves on it, so you can just change the color and pop it up. And then you can also see in this reference image at the top, you get that light coming from outside. Again, you can see with the image that I don't really have that. So instead I had a Godox SL60, popped it in the shower, went up and just bursted that light across the top, which I actually really like because it gives the image a lot of contrast, and you can kind of tell that if I just didn't give away that my shower was there, that was the door. The things I would have changed, obviously it would have been nice if I had a red t-shirt, but I don't, so I'm just working in black at the moment, and I feel like that would have been really nice, just color theory and something a production designer can really focus on. You can also see that there's bathroom lights behind him, them little spotlights, and I do actually have that in my bathroom, but I can't control the light. It's too powerful, so that's always something you can think about. And that comes to practicals as well. So if I had a couple more of them Aputure MCs, maybe I would have taped them up from the top, just lowered the brightness down and popped them down a bit more. So if you're a solo filmmaker like me, and you have the budget for stuff like that, it's always something to think about. Location and production design is key. So this inspiration is from one of my favorite films of all time, Parasite. I love the way this film looks, and I love this shot as well. It's very tight, and you don't really go tight throughout the beginning of the film, and this is where the image starts to become bit more contrasty, a bit more dramatic as the level and the tone of the film changes. So immediately I swapped to a tighter lens. You could go tighter. I shot on a 50mm, but it's on an APS-C sensor, so that goes down to 85, maybe 110 would be a nice lens to use as well. I didn't have that extra person to be around, so I know that that would have been helpful. You can see in this images that these people help shape the image. You can see clearly in these reference images how the cinematographer and the production designer as well, and the director, is using images, and in this instance people, to shape and lead us into the center, which is where our main character is. So yeah, I had this catch light again, that cheap RGB light I found on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description if you want to purchase it. Just put that on a low light, just to give me that bit of catch light, this dynamic between the side of my face. And then I also have the Godox SL62 on this time, as they has effects and it has a television effect. So then I put a blue filter over that light, just again to give you that look. I think if I had a flag, I would have cut it a bit more on my left side, just to give me a bit more shadow here, as the light is kind of taking over my face, and it's also bouncing a little bit onto the side of the walls. It's not ridiculously noticeable, as I have been able to change it in my grade, but it is always something to think about as a DOP, as a cinematographer, as a young filmmaker. How can you cut light? So sometimes it's not about adding light, sometimes it's about removing light. I had 5 lights in this scene when I first did it, and I realized that, hey, I can actually make this a bit darker. This is starting to become into more trends now. So especially if you're working in cinema, think about how you can cut light more than add it. So the final shot is this shot. It's a still that I got from a Brandy Bassett YouTube video. If you want to learn about lighting, learn from this guy, give him a subscribe, as he was a big inspiration for this video for me, just learning how to get better with lighting. Anyway, I loved this look, especially in just this sort of video where I'm talking and I'm just talking to the camera. You want your image to be dynamic, and that's what I learned whilst creating this image. I had to fill the space. So I'm shooting on a 16mm lens, again on an ASPC, turns to around a 28 to 35. So it's quite wide. And I had this mirror, I just wanted to use it as this thing to just have a bit of dynamic to the image instead of just looking at the camera. I'm able to look through the mirror, let it bounce back, and I've hidden the camera. So obviously I have just the key lights on me. I have the Godox SL60 with some soft lights on, and a honeycomb just to bring that light down to only focus on me. And just coming in from there, I'm getting these nice shadows, this sort of Rembrandt style here. And I've just got a bit of a catch light from the Aputure MC popping in over here, which you can actually see in the image. I actually really like that. And I noticed this space behind me was actually looking really boring. And if I had a bit more time, I would probably put something here, just down there, just to give it a bit of something. But I didn't have much time. I didn't really have anything to put there. So instead I opened that door so you can see some of the clothes, and just popped a Philips Hue bulb that I just have in my room. It's great actually as a practical because you can change it to any color, and it is quite low key and very bright. If I had the lens, I'd probably go a little bit tighter, maybe to a 50, just to bring it in a bit more, and I'd step back just to give it that depth of field. But you work with what you got. I'm actually really happy with this lighting setup because it's literally just one simple key light with practicals, and about making the image darker, not adding in too much light, but just enough practicals and other to focus in on me. And my final piece of advice, which is something I touched on earlier, is just work with what you've got. There's no point in purchasing loads of gear in the beginning. It's about working with the basics. My first camera was a Canon 100D, and I was into photography at the time. But I stuck with that camera for 3 years because I was just using it as a starter camera. I just wanted to learn the basics. I wasn't fussed about upgrading things. I just wanted to learn with what I've got. And I'm not going to suggest that camera for video because it is atrocious. But you work with what you got, and that camera got me to here, where I'm able to upgrade to a Fujifilm, and I have all these nice lights, and yeah, I've still got a long way to go, but as a beginner filmmaker who's pretty much doing this by himself right now, I'm really happy with this. But anyways, I hope you learned something. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you later.